Alright, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back here in PlayStation Source, and it's been about what, like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks since Ratchet Clank Rift Apart came out. I think it's cool to start making videos and really talking about some of the spoilers in this game, because there's some good stuff here in terms of the collectibles that you can get, and specifically we're going to be talking about the Lorbs, these collectibles that you can get on Savali that unlock ancient, Lombax lore and stuff like that, and information and everything. There's a lot of cool stuff here that, even though we did talk about it here on the spoiler cast for Road to Rift Apart last week, that there was some things that we wish were talked about a little bit more and maybe shown a little bit more during the game. We're gonna talk a little bit about how it all leads up to that and what they're laying the seeds here for in the sequel, hopefully, that we will get. But definitely, before we get started, leave a like on the video and also make sure to stay subscribed for any and all things PlayStation moving forward. But let's get into the root here of the Lorbs. There are 12 entries, okay? So there's 12 entries of the Lorbs. We're going to be covering entries 1, 2, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, because those pertain to the main, point of the overall video, and there's other ones as well that we will cover later on that have some pretty cool stuff in there as well. But let's start, of course, with entry 1. I'm going to let you guys listen to it right now.
So, I had a weird meeting this morning. Kaden came in. Apparently, the council liked my mapping work on Savali enough that they want me to expand it by mapping every dimension in existence. Yeah, that might be impossible.
So entry 1, we have Kaden here, which of course, if you guys did not know on the thumbnail, Kaden is Ratchet's father, who was the keeper of the Dimensionator, and he did a lot for the race overall and was really a prolific inventor and all that great stuff, okay? And of course, Savali is a planet that is on Rift Apart, where we have all of the different Lombax lore there as well. But essentially what we know here is that Kaden asked this mysterious voice, which we will know the identity of, which I guess is not really a big deal. His name is Mags, so Kaden asked Mags that because the council liked his mapping work of Savali, he was now commissioned to use the Dimensionator to go out and map the entire universe. And we're not given a reason why, but we will unravel that in the duration of this video. But it is pretty, interesting that, it was asked of this random Lombax, Mags, to map the universe, on behalf of Kaden and the council themselves.
Okay, I thought about it over lunch. I don't think it's that impossible. I'll just need the Dimensionator, which Kaden loaned me, a year and 3 weeks, which has already been approved, and to never sleep again. Work starts tomorrow.
So nothing really crazy is said in entry 2. We just know that, Kaden loaned him the Dimensionator to do this mapping of the universe, and he says that he needs, for some odd reason, 1 year and 3 weeks to do it, which I thought was pretty odd, like a pretty weird specific numbering there. I tried to look up the number 386, which you get 365 for 1 year, and then an extra 21 days for 3 weeks. I tried to find anything there, couldn't find anything. Who knows? Maybe you guys know down in the comments below. What do you guys think that 386 number is, or the significance of 1 year and 3 weeks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Good news, mapping's going well. Bad news, apparently not well enough, because Kaden just asked me to go faster. Wouldn't say why, but he sounded stressed, so I let it go. Faster. Yeah, okay, like it's that easy. Well, good thing I stopped doing those recordings. Wait, I'm doing one now. Ow.
And then over the course of the entries, we hear Mags kind of, stress out low-key about, just not being fast enough in this mapping process, just because there's so much work to be done and everything. And in entry 6, good news, bad news, he said that the mappings are going well, but he says that Kaden has been calling upon him to hurry up and, do the mapping process faster, which is where we, stop getting a lot of entries over time, and he starts to record a little bit less frequently and everything. So there is a clear level of stress that Kaden is feeling, that he wants his mapping process done as fast as possible by Mags.
I finally figured out a way to map even faster. Kaden might kill me, but listen, instead of all the cranking and pulling a trigger to use the Dimensionator, I just converted the whole thing into a helmet that runs on voice commands. I mean, he can't argue with the results, and if he does, I'll just complain about it here.
And then we have a crazy revelation here in entry 8. So according to the actual, original schematics of the Dimensionator, which we get on Savali, right? We get the initial schematics of the original Dimensionator, and it was indeed a gun. And so we all thought that, it was just them changing the Dimensionator from the Future Trilogy. Last time we saw it was Into the Nexus, when it was still a helmet, and we thought that, them changing it to a gun was just Insomniac Games choice, just to make it a little more modern or whatever, or just Clank, just maybe reformat it to be a gun. We thought that was Clank's doing, but lo and behold, it actually was not the case. It was this man, it was Mags. So here in entry 8, in order to make the mapping process more efficient and more faster, Mags reformats the Dimensionator to be a helmet and take voice command as an input instead of using it like a normal gun you would with the trigger and everything and the whole format of a gun like we have in Ratchet Clank Rift Apart. So it's pretty neat that we thought it was a change that Clank made, but it turns out it was him in a way to just make dimension hopping faster and the mapping process overall faster, because Kaden kept pressuring him to do it faster. Pretty cool right there.
So tomorrow I'm going to sleep in for an hour because I'm done, baby. I mapped every single dimension in existence. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh, I can't wait to see Kaden's face when I give him the map. And tell him that I'll be going back to all those dimensions soon. There's still so much I can learn.
Then we have entry 10 here, which isn't like the craziest thing in the world. It's just Mags being happy that he's done with his work. He has done mapping the universe. Everything's mapped out. He's all done. He can clock out, you know what I'm saying? He can take off his bra. I don't know, like he done with work, you know what I'm saying? But one of the big things here is that he does vouch to return to all of these dimensions that he's seen before and learn more about the species and culture of each dimension that, he has been through, and that he only had time to map and didn't really have a lot of time to really learn about the species as a whole. So it looks like he will be returning to these different dimensions. Who knows if he ever got the chance to do that? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, I don't know, but it is pretty cool that he does vouch to go back to those different dimensions that he wanted to spend more time with but couldn't because Kaden was pressuring him to go faster in the mapping process. Now here's where we get to the real meat of the video here, okay? So we have Kaden pressuring Mags to hurry up on the process, speed this up, you know what I'm saying? We finally get the full breakdown of why he's been stressed this whole time in the effort for Mags to map the entire universe.
I found out why Kaden has been so stressed lately. Something bad's going on. Bad enough that we need to hide as many Lombaxes as we can, and I guess all of my mapping work was to help find the perfect dimension for us to hide in, so yeah. Hope I didn't screw anything up.
It's because Kaden senses that something bad is happening, and Kaden is trying to figure out a dimension where the Lombaxes can hide in the future. Now I told y'all, if y'all watched my recap video on the Ratchet & Clank story up until Rift Apart, this was a big part of that video, so I'm really glad that I was able to call it out. Hopefully you guys watched it, hopefully you guys filled in, and if you guys didn't know, I'm going to tell you guys now, but it was in that video already, so you also check out that video anyway, right? But here is the main reason, okay? The whole bad thing that Kaden is sensing, okay? The reason as to why he's trying to find a dimension for the Lombaxes to hide is because, of course, the rise of Tachyon. If you guys didn't know, Tachyon was a frozen Cragmite that was underground, and the Lombaxes found him. They raised him as a Lombax themselves, gave him all the information, technology, and whatever, makes a Lombax in terms of information and just technological prowess, they gave to Tachyon a Cragmite, right? But when Tachyon got older and learned about the history of his people, of the Cragmites, how the Lombaxes used the Dimensionator to send the Cragmites to another dimension, this enraged Tachyon, and he revolted against the Lombaxes, went away, started to build up his Imperial army against the Lombaxes, and eventually waged war upon them. So my thought is that this is happening before the Imperial army has made it to the Lombaxes and wage that war, and wage that battle again, right, on Fastoon. I think that's what's going on here. So I think that, at this current point, it is, true that Tachyon has left Fastoon, has left the Lombaxes, and he's in the process of building an Imperial army. Kaden seems to be a little bit stressed out about it, and he is already commissioning for a new dimension to be found where the Lombaxes can hide. This is insane. This adds so much context to the overall Lombax story that makes it really interesting and really changes up the dynamic, because if we recall back to Tools of Destruction, okay, the way it was worded to us, it kind of felt like it was a, last ditch effort, a last choice, a plan B to use the Dimensionator to escape the Imperial Army, aka Tachyon's attack against the Lombaxes, right? That the Lombaxes and the Council just decided to, okay, listen, it is now or never. It's either we live or die. We have to use the Dimensionator to escape this attack and escape Fastoon to keep the Lombaxes alive, right? And so, I assume that yes, there was a council, right, of Lombaxes, but if you guys recall, Kaden is the keeper of the original Dimensionator. So maybe it was all up to him, right? Like maybe it was him giving the okay to use the Dimensionator for us to leave the dimension and escape the Imperial Army attack, right? But if Kaden was so dodgy about the reasoning and never really told Mags the reason up until this point, until the work was done, right? Could Kaden have been lying about the council also wanting the entire dimension being mapped and the entire universe being mapped, right? Like, could he have been lying about that? Like, did the council even really fully realize how much of a threat Tachyon and the Imperial Army were going to be leading up days before the attack and everything? Because it seems that, of course, if you guys recall, Kaden was trying to raise the red flags and trying to tell Alistair, hey, maybe you shouldn't tell this Cragmite about all of our information, all of our technological prowess. Maybe you shouldn't give him all of our technology in the first place, right? And, they were like, Kaden, you're crazy. No, it's fine. We can trust Tachyon. He was raised a Lombax essentially, even though he's a Cragmite, and look what happens, right? So maybe, there was a little bit of conflict where Kaden felt like, listen, I have to have this be a backup plan for the sake of the Lombax race. Maybe that's what's happening here, right? Like that, like that's not said. That's just what I'm thinking, right? Like maybe Kaden knew all along that the Lombaxes were not going to be able to survive the Imperial Army attack with Tachyon knowing all of the knowledge of the Lombaxes, having all the technology from the Lombaxes, and for all intents and purposes being a Lombax essentially, right? Obviously he's not one, he's a Cragmite, but he has all the information and all the technology of a Lombax, right? So just think about all that pressure right there. I think that Kaden was acting on his own accord here to save the Lombax race. Who knows? That's just my thought, but it seems very interesting, and I feel like the council did not know about this commission to go and map the entire universe to find a dimension where they can exist and they can hide from the Imperial Army.
This is my final recording. If you're listening to this, that means you didn't make it to the new dimension with us, and I'm so sorry. We're trying hard to get everyone now, but our race is scattered across so many dimensions. This is not farewell. I left a copy of my dimensional map in the archives, and I marked down where we're all going. I wish I could have left you a Dimensionator too, but hey, I'm only one Lombax. I hope you find your way back to us, and if you do, please look me up. The name's Mags, and I'd love to hear your story.
Straight up, not gonna lie, entry 12 low-key gave me chills, okay? It's called This Is Not Farewell. It's the final recording that pertains to this specific overall arc of the Lorbs and everything, and this one is crazy, okay? This is where we get the reveal of the name. It's a Lombax named Mags, not that big of a deal, but just figured I'd just throw it in there because it is said here in this entry. He, says if you're hearing this, you didn't make it to the new dimension with the other Lombaxes, says that, the overall race is scattered everywhere and it's hard to gather all them together to go to this new dimension. And it's pretty interesting, like, to paint that picture that, like, a lot of the Lombaxes were scattered in a bunch of different places and areas, and if they had the power of the Dimensionator, maybe there were some Lombaxes that defected, right? Like maybe they were in other dimensions and stuff like that. Like that's a pretty cool notion to say there, that like, were they trying to just get every Lombax from their dimension, or were they trying to get them from other dimensions around the overall universe? Like, pretty cool right there to even just paint a picture that the Lombaxes are scattered across the entire universe. It's hard to gather all of them under one mission, which is to go to a new dimension, right? But he says that he left a copy of the map in the archives underground, which we do get to in Rift Apart. We actually go and get that copy of the interdimensional map. That is now even way more cooler to know that the work to get that interdimensional map to even exist was from the help of mags for the most part. That is pretty cool right there. Also, of course, Kaden commissioned it, but it's really cool that, we have a little backstory on that map itself. And so Mags also says that he wishes that he could have left an extra dimension there. That would have been kind of useful because in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, we're trying to figure out how to build one anyway, so could have been really, could really come in handy. But he does say that he's only one Lombax, he can't do it all. I understand, Max, it's all good, what I'm saying? Everything is forgiven. He also marked down the dimension where the Lombaxes went and urges them to find their way back to the new dimension, and ends off saying that, hey, if you get to the new dimension, please look me up, please find me, I would love to hear your story. And so this gave me incredible chills, bro. I'm getting chills right now reading that. Like the prospect of, this Lombax Mags that just wants to hear the stories of the other Lombaxes and how they got to the new dimension. So where does this leave us now, right? Like, we got the ending of Ratchet Clank Rift Apart. I think it's pretty clear that Insomniac is now finally building towards us seeing the Lombax dimension. I hope, man, because if, depending on the game that you entered into the series, it's upwards of 13 to 15 years that they have been, having this overall thread of, where is the Lombax dimension? Will we ever see the Lombax dimension? Okay, and I think the closest we got to it is technically Tools of Destruction. It was brought a lot about in A Crack in Time as well, but we still have not seen the Lombax dimension quite yet. And I think, when, Ratchet says, hey, Rivet, let's do one more stop before we end our separate ways and go to our separate dimensions and go home, I think that is pertaining to them going to the Lombax dimension. I hope, at least, man, because, like, I think that this is going to be the sequel's main narrative plot, if there is going to be a sequel to Rift Apart. At least I hope so, because we just want to see the Lombax dimension, man. Like, it's been so long. Give us that. Honestly, me and Tajay did talk about how this aspect of the game about not showing us the Lombax dimension is definitely one of the big flaws in Rift Apart, where it is, brought up a lot. It is, definitely telegraphed to the player that, hey, you're gonna want to know that there is a Lombax dimension that exists, and we never really get a payoff to it. So it is a pain point, honestly, but hopefully this is more telling that, hey, now we have a face, like now we have Mags that we could be searching for in the next game to hopefully finally get to the Lombax dimension. But down below, guys, let me know your thoughts. Did you like this backstory? Do you hope that we see the Lombax dimension in the next game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure also, while you are down there, hit up that description to find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and an Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content and podcast format. Those, of course, being Road to Rift Apart, which the finale is going to be uploaded on Friday, the end of a Road 2 series. You hate to see it end, but we're gonna tally up the bets and everything, and one of us is gonna owe the other one a game. We'll see which one happens, what I'm saying? But check out that on Friday. Save Slot Podcast up on Sundays, and plenty of videos throughout the week. And of course, Metal Gear Solid 5 stream series is starting. I'm aiming for Tuesday. I'm not sure when this video is going up, but Tuesday you may have a live stream with Metal Gear Solid 5. Can't wait to start out that game. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.